Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all, especially at this special time of the new year. Starting as usual with a question that's come in from our global family joining us from all over the world. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. How do I control my emotions? This was asked by Naveen on Instagram. How do I control my emotions? The aim is not about controlling emotions. The aim is about not allowing emotions to control you. All an emotion is a very brief pattern of chemical and electrical behavior that takes place in our brain. It happens in a certain way, we call it anger. It happens in a different way, we call it sadness. It happens in a different way, we call it happiness. A different way, we call it fear. That's all it is. It's just a pattern in the brain. And it's very quick. Most emotions mind gets involved. So let's say, for example, I see something, someone does something, acts in a certain way. It triggers anger in me, okay? So in that moment, as I see what that person is doing, suddenly there is this wave of chemical and electrical pattern in me. Causes my blood pressure to rise, causes my heartbeat to go, causes my palms to get all sweaty, causes my brain to contract. So where my vision was wide, in anger my vision becomes very, very narrow, like tunnel vision. But it's quick. What makes that anger last and kill us is that the moment that wave of energy starts happening, my mind kicks in and starts telling me a story. How dare he do that? Who does he think he is? Kya samajhte aap apne aap ko? How could he do that to me? That's not fair. Wo hamesha aise karte hain. And we start giving ourselves a whole drama around it. And the drama, we keep repeating it. And the more we repeat it, the more we cause that pattern of energy to keep happening. So where it was originally just a wave, we turn it into a whole tsunami and a storm that lasts hours, days, weeks, years. Because we keep telling ourselves the story, we keep triggering it. If you imagine that you got like a little cut, it gets a little, hurts for a moment, gets a little scab over it, but every time the scab just begins to start, you pick it off, you make it bleed again. Then the scab just begins to grow. You peel it off, you make it bleed again. Eventually, you're actually going to turn that which was little into something much bigger. you'll give yourself a proper infection. Now imagine that you kept doing that every day for weeks and months. You could cause a really severe infection in the body. Kuch bhi nahi tha in the beginning. It was nothing to begin with, a little paper cut, a little something. But because we keep picking at it, it doesn't heal, it gets worse, it gets infected. And this is actually what happens with a lot of our emotional state, is as it starts to rise within us, the mind kicks in and starts telling a whole story. And in that story, we hold on to it. And we prevent that wave from ever going away. And so don't try to control your emotions, because all that does is it represses it, it suppresses it. Now it's bubbling up inside of me. Then you get the volcano effect, right? I mean, then it's someone does something little and you explode at them, right? We've all seen it happen. Suddenly we do nothing and somebody just completely loses their temper and you say, "Hey, bhai, where did this come from?" And it's all because they were repressing and suppressing and holding in. And finally, it exploded. So you don't want to repress or suppress the emotions. You don't want to push them down and control them. What you want to do is just notice it. Anger. Sadness. Joy. Whatever it is. Allow it to just be there. It comes as a wave. And if you allow yourself to just sit and close your eyes for a moment, what you'll find is the wave comes, it builds, it peaks, and then it goes back out. And it's over. If you don't allow yourself to tell yourself a story about it, it's over. And that's the way to handle emotions. They keep arising. But don't let them control you. Just because there's a reaction in the brain of anger doesn't mean that you have to yell or hit somebody or punch a wall or go out and get drunk or use drugs or do something you're going to regret. It's just a chemical and electrical pattern. Just allow it to subside, whatever the emotion may be. The goal is not to become emotionless. We're not looking to become just, a monotonous existence, but not to be controlled by them. This is where Bhagavan Krishna tells us in the Gita that the wise one, the yogi, is one who is balanced in pleasure, in pain. Doesn't mean the yogi can't tell the difference. Doesn't mean the yogi never experiences pleasure, never experiences pain. But it means that the yogi is not controlled by that. That it's not, happiness, great, everything is wonderful. Sadness, everything is awful. Where we just bounce around like that. The goal is just, okay. Yeah, that disturbed me. Interesting. This feels really beautiful. Interesting. You just become aware. You just notice it. Like you notice a rainy day, or you notice a sunny day, or you notice a cold day. Notice a hot day. The same way you just notice, this is a wave of anger. This is a wave of resentment. This is a wave of yearning and longing. This is a wave of joy. But who I am is stable and anchored and grounded amidst all of these waves. So that becomes the goal. Beautiful. Yeah, other questions? Any question that anyone? Sorry. Yes, sure. Just come.
Sadhviji, namaskar. I am Manish and I am attending the New Year retreat here.
Wonderful. Welcome.
I have a question.
Sure.
Today in the afternoon I was doing meditation with Darshanaji, and when I was deep into it, all of a sudden I found myself moving inside and asking somebody, "Are you happy?" And since then there is a sweetness inside me.
There's a?
Sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
I am not aware who is this guy. I mean, today I have become aware that there is someone inside me. And after 55 years I have spoken to him. I'm not able to understand my feelings.
Beautiful. So, when we say, "Who are you?" there's a lot of answers to that. There's a lot of layers. On one level, we give the physical story. Who are you? We give the story of the physical body. This is my name, this is my age, this is my height, this is my weight, this is my career, this is my family, this is where I'm from. It's like describing your model car. Right? It's this year's model, it's this color, this is the horsepower, this is where it was made, this is the manufacturer. In the same way, that's one layer of describing ourselves. Another layer is our emotional self. I suffer from depression, I suffer from anxiety, I'm struggling with this difficulty, that challenge. This is what I've been through in my life on an emotional level. Not just the physical level, but the emotional level. Then we speak about soul, spirit, divinity. On that level, a level that if you study Advaita Vedanta, for example, there's nothing but God. Nothing but God. Everything else is happening in God. So it's an illusion, not an illusion like an optical illusion, but an illusion as in not real. An illusion the same way that your dreams seem real when you're having them, but the minute you wake up, you realize, oh, that was just a dream. According to that philosophy, all of this is a dream. And when we wake up, we realize it is no more real than that which we experience in a dream is real. Seems real. But when we wake up, we realize, oh my God, it all was happening in me. I may have been at a party in my dream, but all 200 people were in me. I may have been being chased by a bad guy, by some villain, and then some hero came and saved me. But when you wake up, you realize, oh my God, the villain and me and the hero, they were all in me. There was nothing but me. And in that way, we're taught when you wake up, spiritually, you will realize that all of this, as real as it seems, is actually happening just in you, in that capital Y you, that you which is the supreme reality. So when we say aham brahmasmi, for example, that's what comes out of this. I am that supreme reality. But then what you describe is kind of a layer in between. Me talking to my inner self. Who's the me? Who am I talking to? Who's the guy who lives inside me? So these are aspects where spirituality and psychology meet. It's not your physical body. It's not the highest, purest spiritual truth of there is nothing but God. According to that, there is no inner you or outer you, or it's just God. But then there's this very precious place, and it's a place that I really enjoy. I'm very fascinated by it. It's a place that I love to inhabit, is where spirituality and psychology intersect. Because even though we know that on the highest level it's all God, you turn the TV channel a little, and here we are in these human bodies. And just because we know that it's all God doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to embody the fullest humanity that we can. I mean, that's really what the Bhagavad Gita is calling on us to do. It's what the Ramayana is calling on us to do. It's what all of these teachings are calling on us to do, is not just realize that none of this is real, but actually in the awareness that it's all God, play your role. Inhabit this humanity. This sacred, precious, divine humanity. And in order to be able to do that, you've got to have an awareness of these different aspects of the psyche. So you're used to thinking, most of us are, just from the ego self. Now suddenly, today, for the first time in 55 years, you spoke to kind of an inner being. We all have that. He's not talking about the soul, because the soul, of course, is always happy. But you could think of it almost as an inner child, as an inner self, as that you that isn't acculturated, that isn't socialized, that isn't according to what people tell you should be, that isn't just trying to make other people happy, that isn't doing what the rules say you should do, but that actually is that very unique psyche in you that has its own thoughts and dreams and hopes and fears and a very deep sense with that being. So for psychological health, it's very powerful and very important to connect with your inner self. If not, we find ourselves running on our subconscious. If I don't know why I get angry at the things I get angry at, if I don't know why I'm depressed, if I don't know why I'm addicted to alcohol or drugs or food or Facebook or shopping, if I don't know why I keep getting involved in relationships with people who abuse me or who betray me or who hurt me, or if I don't know why I can't open up or trust or believe in myself, if I don't know those things, my life is not going to be fulfilling and successful and meaningful. That inner you is the one who's going to tell you all of that. It's going to share with you, here's why you don't trust. Here's what you're afraid of. Here's what you really want. Here's what you're looking for. Here's the pattern that you need to learn to free yourself from. Here's why that made you angry. It's a very powerful thing. And then you take on the spectrum of psychology to spirituality. So you go in and you start seeing that inner self. But then as you start getting into the spiritual side, you get less lost in just the psyche and the psychological stories and histories and emotions and drama. And it becomes much more, that pure being inside me. That being who is just divinity. That being in me that is not separate from the divine. That pure consciousness, that pure soul, that sweetness that's in me. You start to be able to touch that. So yeah, it's a very beautiful practice. And as someone who has lived and learned and studied both psychology and spirituality, I actually find that in our lives, both of them are very important and play overlapping but also separately important roles. Because unless and until we've dealt with our psychology, it's very difficult to have lasting, sustained, powerful spiritual experiences in life. So connecting with that inner you is a very beautiful experience. So I'm so glad you had that today. Wonderful. Sure, other questions? Yeah, come.
I'm Prashant, Professor Prashant. I have joined retreat.
Wonderful.
Last year also I was there for retreat. So it was a great experience. So this year also I have come. Regarding the controlling, not allowing emotions to control yourself, of course, but what happens that many times emotions come with great force.
Yes,
So
they do.
it becomes unbearable to bear that force. Okay, you will be just observing. It might be a fear, it might be some anxiety or concern about family or concern about your health or anything. So it is with such a great power that it affects your, takes toll on your health. Like your heartbeats rise, you feel uneasy in head, you feel
Yes,
over.
yes.
So then how to take care of your health in this case?
Great. So yeah, the body-mind is deeply connected. As we think, so we become. And stress, from both a mental health perspective and also a physical health perspective, is one of the most detrimental and harmful aspects. Ask any doctor today, and what they'll all tell you is that stress is one of the greatest causes, not just of that which impacts us mentally, but that which impacts us physically. Heart disease, diabetes, so much else. How to control that anxiety. There's a beautiful prayer that is called the Serenity Prayer. And the prayer says, God, grant me the courage God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's your answer. The anxiety that kills us is anxiety over things that I cannot control. The stock market, the weather, other people's lives, the passage of time. Cannot control it. But all of the anxiety that we have is almost always based on that. Oh my God, what's my boss going to think? Oh my God, what's going to happen to the stock market? Oh my God, what if there's an earthquake? Oh my God, what if my loved one dies? Oh my God, what if? if you really become clear, what are the things I have control over? What are the things I don't? The things I do, let me work for them. Take care of my health. Afraid of dying? Great. Eat right. Stop smoking. Exercise. I mean, regardless of whether you go to allopathy or Ayurveda or homeopathy or naturopathy, there's a few things that everyone agrees on. Get enough sleep. Drink enough water. Exercise. Eat more fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Cut out sugar. Cut down on it. Don't eat so much fried food. I mean, it's not rocket science. Get some sunshine. Your health, your actions, your words, your spiritual grounding, your relationships, your choices, it's all in your control. Other people's choices, not in your control. Someone else smokes, someone else eats too much sugar, someone else eats too much fried food, not in your control. As anyone knows who has tried to change the dietary habits of a loved one, doesn't work very well. Doesn't work very well. Be really clear. What do I have control over? Put all of your time and energy and attention on that. What is your dharma? What is your duty? Take care of yourself, your body, your mind. Are you doing your meditation? Are you doing yoga? Are you spending time in nature? Are you spending time in seva, doing something that benefits others, that reminds you that you are connected? Your spirit. Spirit doesn't need to be taken care of, but the mind needs to remember that you are spirit. So spiritual practices. And then all the rest, you surrender it. It's not that you don't care, but it's just that you surrender it. You surrender it to the divine. Oh God, take care. Take care. Let that be your prayer for the new year. Yeah. Because we all lose ourselves over on the things I don't have control over side of the equation. Yeah. Well, if you don't have control over it, why kill yourself? Our loved ones will get sick. They will die. We will get sick. We will die. It is the nature of the universe. Either you will die first or they will die first. That's the only question. So we accept that. We do what we can to live healthy lives. We love every minute that we have. The thing you do have control over is at least stop fighting over stupid things. Right? At least don't waste the minutes you have. Don't allow yourself to ever regret, oh my God, in those final minutes, hours, I can't believe that I wasted them. We were fighting, I was angry, or we were talking something stupid. Every hour could be your last hour, you don't know. Could be their last hour, you don't know. So it's a beautiful teaching to let every moment be precious. Don't waste any of them. Control what you can. Surrender the rest to God. And stay anchored and grounded to be really clear on what falls on which side. Beautiful. Your body and your mind will both thank you. Other questions? Yes. Yes, sure, you can come after him.
Thank you so much for calling. My question is, do we believe in astrology or not?
So, do I believe in astrology? The short answer is yes. We were just speaking last night about the pull of the moon. And I was saying just last night how we know that the cycles of the moon pull on the ocean enough to turn low tide into high tide. The only thing that turns low tide into high tide and high tide into low tide is the moon. The gravitational pull between the moon and the earth. Now, our bodies are mostly water, which means it would be foolish of us to think that somehow the moon is powerful enough to turn low tide into high tide, to move however many billions or trillions of gallons of water there are in the ocean. But that we, these little essentially nothings, are somehow unimpacted by them. So I absolutely believe in it. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who says that they are an astrologer knows what to do with it. It doesn't mean that I would believe anyone who started trying to tell me my horoscope. In the same way that understanding how astronomy works, how the moon and the planets and gravitational pull and the angles and this and that, how that works, well, you've got to be an actual astronomer. You've got to actually be an expert scientist. In the same way, you'd have to be an expert to really understand astrology. Because it's not just about the moon and the planets, it's understanding how that impacts each one of us individually differently. So it's a much deeper and much more subtle science. But if you get someone who knows what they're doing, absolutely, it can be very, very beneficial. Yeah. Yes.
Sadhviji, this is my first time to the ashram. Really looking forward for my next 2 days. I come from a corporate world, so my question is related to that. There's a lot of competition which is going on. And everyone is trying to compete, whether for money, whether for power. In all this hustle bustle, and of course, being a woman, you need to, go an extra step. How do you remain true to yourself in this era?
Beautiful. So, you remain true by realizing that nothing is more important than being true to yourself. No one is put here on earth with their dharma stamped on their rear end that says CEO of a company, president of a company, millionaire, billionaire, whatever it may be. We are put here on earth with our dharma to realize the truth of who we are. Anything that does not enable you to live in the truth of who you are is something that should be really questioned in terms of your attachment to it or enthusiasm for it. Now, that doesn't mean thou shalt not do business, because we're also all here with duties to be in the world. Just as Arjun was not allowed to abandon the battlefield and run off into a cave, we're all supposed to take that message for us, right here, on the battlefield of your life, whatever it may be, your duty is to stand here and do that. So if your ground is the corporate world, wonderful. But you need to stay true to yourself. And that may mean that you don't necessarily end up in the absolute highest place. By God's grace, we are now in a time where lots of business is shifting into much more sustainable, positive business, that people more and more are starting to look at ways of having businesses that are good for the business, but good for the people also who work there. Good for the suppliers also, good for the consumers also, good for the planet also. So it's not that business and spirituality can't go together. It's just that not every business and not every role in business is going to be something that you're able to do while staying really true to yourself. And yeah, there may absolutely be a time where you have to make a decision, but I've never known of anyone who ever regretted making a decision that was in alignment with their true self, even though it may have meant a pay cut or even a job shift. Because staying in alignment with that true self is actually the source of the greatest joy and the greatest meaning in our life. And people who end up essentially repressing and denying and suppressing their true selves in order to just make more. They may become the CEOs and the presidents and the millionaires and billionaires, but they're not necessarily the ones who are living the happiest lives. So stay anchored, stay grounded, but remember that business can be done in spiritual ways, as long as it's honest. I mean, if you look at, the precepts, what we call yam and niyam, the foundation of the 8 limbs of yoga, they're precepts for life. Non-violence and truthfulness and non-stealing and non-hoarding. So as long as your business is anchored and rooted in truthfulness, no need to lie on advertisements. Create a product that's actually good enough that you can honestly advertise about it. There's no rule that says thou shalt lie to advertise something. Create something that you can tell the truth about and people still want to buy it. There's no law that says we have to steal. All kinds of products now in the whole industry of fair trade. Products that are not harmful to the environment, products that are not harmful to the people who work for them. Products that are made in which everyone who works all along the supply chain have fair wages, have safe working conditions. There's a lot of movement to make business much more honorable. I mean, I know personally lots of people in business who have committed themselves to running businesses that are in alignment with spiritual truths. And it doesn't mean you can't compete. Compete, go out and have a baseball game with friends. There's no rule that says we're not allowed to compete as spiritual people. But you just don't cheat. Right? I mean, people have been playing card games or chess games or ball games with family members, with friends, with community for as long as people have existed. I'm sure that even, long before people had actual baseballs or cricket balls or bats, that they were playing with rocks and sticks and, whatnot. So there's nothing unspiritual about having a friendly competition I'm faster, I'm stronger, oh, I got it in the hole, okay. So you can compete, but just don't cheat. And just don't hoard and harm. And it just should never be my gain. Requires your loss. Try to think of ways in business in which you can be creating things that people are prepared to pay for, but that actually benefit them as well. So it becomes win-win. You get the business, you get the money, and they actually get something that is meaningful and beneficial for them. This is the way that our corporate world is going to have to go. There's not very many years left on earth that we have where our model of consumerism and our model of business and our model of corporations is going to be able to continue the way that it is. As it's destroying the air and the water and the soil, and it's not going to last very long. We need business to start being an asset, a productive aspect of society. We create things that are of value. People pay us money for these things of value. We compete with other people so that we create things that are better, of more value. But the model of stealing and lying and harming, and my gain means your loss, that model is going to have to go. So, yeah, it may be a challenge, but at the end of the day, I can promise you that staying true to yourself is going to bring you a lot more joy, that there actually are companies that are blooming and blossoming and growing, that are really dedicated to productive and sustainable and happy and healthy workplaces, as well as to creating products that are of benefit to our society. So there is hope for business. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. We have beautiful music, bhajan and kirtan this evening at, I think it's 8:30, in the Satsang Bhavan, the hall in the, I'm sorry, 8 o'clock, thank you. 8 o'clock in the hall in the middle of the ashram, you'll hear it. So after dinner, feel free to join us for that. We have another few days of our spiritual retreat, another 2 full days of the retreat. If you have not yet signed up, but you would like to take part, maybe Rohan can meet with you after and help you. He's a tall, beautiful Australian gentleman in the back. Raise your hand. Yes, there. He can help you get registered for that. And even if you're not able to participate in all of it, there's morning yoga, then our sacred fire ceremony, the Havan. I'll be doing satsang here tomorrow at 11:30 in the morning. We'll have the evening one as well, of course, but 11:30 in the morning we have a special New Year's satsang, so that's open to everyone as well. And then in the afternoon we've got special meditation and of course the arati, and tomorrow evening a very, very special sacred ceremony on the banks of Ganga, a sacred swaha ceremony. So we invite you all to take part in as much of it as you are able to. And a beautiful day and morning to our family joining us from all over the world. And I look so forward to seeing you all here tomorrow. So much love to